during World War II when American GIs were stationed in England. Due to the rationing and stuff like that, UK food was pretty bland. And so the GIs went back home from England and carried that stereotype of bland food with them to the States. But based on our experience, stereotype debunked. Hey guys, I'm Eric.
And I'm Grace. We're the Wandering Ravens.
We are a couple of digital nomads who have been wandering around the world for over 3 years, and we make videos about travel and culture.
If either of those topics interest you, make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit the little bell icon so that you can get notified every time we release a new video.
Today we are coming at you from our confinement here in France. We actually put pants on today, or trousers on today, so that we could bring you some smiles and laughter. And our goal today is to share with you some of the top things that Americans, we love about the UK. Quick note, we are actually doing this in a 2-part video series. So today, sorry about that. We are doing this in a 2-part video series. Today we are putting out our first 5 things, and then in 2 days we're going to be releasing another video with an additional 5 or more favorite things about the UK. So make sure you subscribe and come back to see part 2.
If you want to help support our channel so that we can make better videos more often, make sure that you check out our Patreon, link in the description below.
And make sure you give this video a like for the YouTube algorithm. Without further ado, let's get into it. These are 5 things that we love about the UK. Morris dancers. I'll bet you didn't see that one coming.
No one did.
We were introduced to Morris dancing while we were staying in the small town of Ulster in the Midlands. You can watch a video of that town here. Leading up to this street festival, we heard lots of people moaning about how the Morris dancers were going to be there and what a great embarrassment they were to England and all that sort of stuff. But we actually really enjoyed the Morris dancers and thought they were great fun. From what we understand, the history and the origins behind Morris dancing is a bit muddled. If you know about specifics, do drop them down in the comments and let us know. What we've gathered, just word on the street, is that Morris dancing has been around for between 300 to 500 years. Some people say it goes back to the Celts. Some people say it was invented by the Victorians. So there seems to be some conflicting information about what Morris dancing is and how it came to be. To the British people that are embarrassed of Morris dancing and are like, oh gosh, the Morris dancers are at it again with their bells and sticks. Guys, you should enjoy it. Look on the bright side. In America, there are no cultural activities for men to participate in when they hit that midlife crisis. So, you know, for us in the States, it's either we buy a boat or we go golfing. And Morris dancing is a lot better than both of those. Question for you, what is your opinion of Morris dancing? Do you like it? Do you loathe it? Let us know what you think down in the comments.
Food! Another thing that we loved about the UK was that there is a lot of good food to be had there. We had the best fish and chips that we've ever had in the UK. I think that's safe to say, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Jinx. Haggis, although you were the only one who had the haggis.
It was wonderful. I would go back to the UK just for the haggis.
It was that good.
It was that good.
You would travel international borders just to eat haggis.
Yeah. Going back to the UK for Burns Night and eating haggis in Scotland is now on my bucket list of items to do.
Ooh, that would be so fun.
Yeah.
Getting the full haggis address. That would be so fun to watch.
Overall, we loved all the food that we ate in the UK, and that was a big surprise to us given the UK's negative stereotype that you guys have in the States for being a place full of terrible food. And you know, I've heard that that stereotype might come from way back in the day during World War II when American GIs were stationed in England, and due to the rationing and stuff like that, UK food was pretty bland, but that was because it was the war going on. And so the GIs went back home from England and carried that stereotype of bland food with them to the States. But based on our experience, stereotype debunked. If you want to learn about all the different foods that we saw for the first time when we visited the UK, watch this video. Watch that to hear our opinion on all things clotted cream, scones, crumpets, and etc. The wicked wit of the Brits. This was something that surprised us when we first arrived in the UK, how hilarious British people are. And I don't mean that in a condescending way at all. I mean it in the sense that you guys have some of the best humor, that's with a U, that we have ever experienced. And that was a big surprise for us. We did not expect British people to be funny. I'm not sure how we missed that memo. but somehow we did, and it was a very pleasant surprise.
I think that perhaps our perception of British people is also due to the fact that the media we consume, the British media we consume, is period pieces, so it's hundreds of years old, and so the sense of humor might be different in that than it is in the present day. So when visiting the UK now, we are treated to a much different type of people and sense of humor than we're exposed to previously.
Ever since we left the UK, we have had an ongoing conversation between us trying to pinpoint the differences between American humor and British humor, and why British people seem to be more witty than American people. Because before going to the UK, I was under the impression that Americans were hilarious and had a great sense of sarcasm. But then when we visited the UK, that was just rammed up a ton. So we have our computer open. We're gonna read through some of the notes that we made since visiting the UK on why we think British humor is different from American humor. You guys let us know what you think and whether or not you agree with these points.
American sarcasm is pretty surface level, whereas British sarcasm cuts deep. And I think this is really true. When an American is being sarcastic, you'll always know. Like, you don't have to be really witty to understand what they're saying. Whereas if a Brit is being sarcastic, it takes a little bit more navigation.
Also, American humor tends to be a lot more slapsticky, whereas in the UK, there's a lot more emphasis on language and using language to weave these witty webs of...
Ah, yes.
Another difference is that in the UK, humor is very often self-deprecating. So if you're gonna tell a funny story or things like that, you're usually the butt of your own joke. Whereas in the US, a funny person isn't someone who is the butt of the joke, they're the person who tells the jokes.
A common phrase that we've heard is that American humor is laughing with, whereas British humor is laughing at. Now this means that the goal of American humor is to get everyone in the group laughing together and having a fun time together, whereas British humor is a little bit more at someone's expense, usually the person who is making the joke or the witty remarks. So they will self-deprecate or something like that, and then everyone will laugh at the person, whereas in America it tends to not really be making anyone the subject of the joke.
And speaking of jokes, that's another big difference too, is that a common situation in the States is that you'll have friends together for drinks or something like that, and you'll just start swapping jokes. And in America, the jokes are all about setting up and knocking down a punchline, you know? The other day, an Irishman, an Englishman, and a Welshman walked into a bar, you know, that sort of thing. Whereas in the UK, I don't think we ever heard anyone tell a joke like that. It was a lot more... You know, people are just telling funny stories. And I don't know how it happens, but everything British people say is funny. And this is another note. Now, again, that might sound condescending. That's not what we mean. Something I heard someone say, which kind of exemplifies what the point I'm trying to make here, is that in the UK, people think you're joking unless otherwise indicated, while in the US, people think you're serious unless otherwise indicated. And I think that this is really true. In the UK, it seemed like very often, 90% of what someone's telling you is for humor and the sake of a good laugh. So if, you know, you're just chatting with a friend and they're telling you a story, you're talking about the weather, you're doing it in a way that you're bantering almost all the time. Whereas in the States, I can think of dozens of people that I know who I have never heard tell a joke. So culturally, there is a big difference in how British people, just most of their conversation is funny and is banter, whereas in the States, the vast majority of your conversation is very literal, not sarcasm or irony or, you know,
wit.
You're straight shooting. Americans are very straight shooting. And that kind of gets into what you were saying, which is why Americans, if they're being sarcastic, you know they're being sarcastic.
Yeah.
Because if an American tells a joke and they're trying to be funny, they'll go out of their way to let you know that they're trying to be funny. Otherwise, people will think they're being serious.
Well, I think Brits' wit is a cultural thing, and it is a skill. I really wish that I had that, because it's just like ingrained in every single Brit that we have ever met, and we really admire that because some Americans got no sense of humor, man.
It would be very difficult for me to disagree with the statement, British comedy is more sophisticated than American comedy. I don't think I can disagree with that. Because the funniest Americans that I know are basically your average Brit down at the pub. You know, based on my experience. Personal experience, of course. Maybe there's other cities in the United States which are just hilarious, but Seattle, I guess, isn't that funny.
I think we have humor. It's just, like we said, it's surface level. So it doesn't take a lot of mental stimulation at all to understand it. Like, if you tell a joke, everyone will understand it. Whereas British humor is a lot more, that was witty, that took thought to create that, and that's really cool.
One thing I will say though, where America does come out ahead, is that when it comes to internet discussions and communicating humor via texting and commenting, I think Americans do have the advantage there, because Americans will never leave a comment that's sarcasm without you knowing it's sarcasm. So,
That's true.
for example, they would leave a comment saying, you know, I effing hate yada 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 yada, winky emoji to let you know this is a joke, don't get offended.
Or JK, LOL.
Yeah, whereas with British comments, you know, we made a video a few last week, this one right here, it kind of, you know, we were taking the piss out of hate comments that we get on our videos, but we run into this problem a lot where we get comments on our videos that sound very angry and vitriolic and hateful. And for us, we're just like, oh, these are hate comments because there's trolls out there. But then British people, if I comment back with another sarcastic remark back to them, like, right back at ya, then the person will frequently comment back, I'm so sorry, I meant no offense, it was just British sarcasm. And like, I don't know. This British sarcasm really gets lost in translation online because it's impossible to tell who's being sarcastic and who's being, you know, a hateful troll.
As a Brit, can you tell the difference if someone writes a comment or something and they don't leave any emoji or any indicator of that sort? Can you still tell the difference if they're being sarcastic or if they're being genuine, if they genuinely want you dead?
If you leave a hateful comment on this video, leave a winky emoji so we know you're being sarcastic.
The history.
One of Americans' favorite things about the UK is your rich and long history, because we're a young country. We have 200 years of history, you know, just since being founded. It's like that saying, 100 years is a short time in the UK and 100 miles is a short distance in America. So for us, you know, thinking 200 years ago, that's forever ago. For most Americans, history began on July 4th, 1776. So when we go to the UK, it feels kind of like we're the Pevensey children stepping into Narnia. We're going into this land that has castles and hedges and manor houses. I don't know, probably dragons. Nessie's out there somewhere.
It is really quite magical, actually, just because a lot of the different children's books that you read growing up, a lot of it is from the UK. And so you have kind of this mythical, magical idea of the UK, and then going there and being able to see real castles and all of these historic things is just mind-blowing.
Something we've heard Brits complain about is Americans being so like, oh my gosh, wide-eyed wonder when they visit the UK. But I gotta tell you guys, it's because our minds are melting in wonderment at seeing all the stuff you guys have. So don't take your castles and 1,000-year-old pubs for granted.
Yeah.
Because those things are hella cool.
Yeah. We don't have anything like that.
The massive variety of European dogs. This is Grace's entry.
I was like, this has to be in there. In the States, we have a lot of mixed breed dogs, tons of Chihuahuas.
Ugh, unfortunately. No?
I apologize for all of the Chihuahua lovers out there. I am a huge dog enthusiast, and I know tons of different breeds of dogs, but there are just so many breeds that you never see in the States, that as soon as we came to the UK, I saw tons of them. The Hungarian Vizsla, I don't know if it's Vizsla or Vizsla, English Springer Spaniels, Welsh Springer Spaniels, English Cocker Spaniels,
Irish Setters.
Irish Setters, yes. All of these different breeds of European dogs you don't often see in the States.
Mastiffs.
Yes, English Mastiffs.
Yeah.
They're in abundance in the UK, and that makes me super happy because they're all dogs that I know by name and had seen pictures of, but had never seen before going to the UK in person. We actually are hoping to get a British breed dog in the future, hopefully. And so if you guys have any guesses as to what breed of dog we're talking about, you can put those down below in the comments.
You might one day log on and see that we have a dog sitting right here.
Instead of Horton as our sponsor, have Horton, you have been
replaced with a real animal.
Replaced with a real animal that can
You are not a pedigree elephant.
No. He's only got one tusk too.
Yeah.
He's quite shameful if you actually see it.
Oh, he's embarrassed.
He's embarrassed.
That's a shame.
Well, he shouldn't have been going and getting all drunk then.
He was saying hello to Mr. Armitage and knocked out his other tusk. This is where part 1 of this video ends. If part 2 is out, click this link right here to go over and watch that.
And if you guys want to have access to deleted scenes from today's video and other behind the scenes footage, make sure that you go and sign up for our Patreon.
Joining our Patreon community helps us spend less time at our day job and more time creating these videos for you guys to enjoy during your confinement. And now we're going to turn the conversation over to you. What are things that you love about the UK? What are your favorite aspects of United Kingdom life? Drop those down in the comments and let's talk about it. Again, I'm Eric.
And I'm Grace.
We're the Wandering Ravens.
And we have a goal of hitting 10,000 subscribers on this channel by the time our enforced isolation here in France is over, so make sure that you subscribe to our channel.
And don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you get notified every time we release a new video about British culture. We'll see you guys next time. Bisous!